With me now from Capitol Hill, Senator Kamala Harris, Democrat of California, along with Cory Booker, introducing their own police reform bill. So much to talk about, but
yes.
Let's start with what we just saw. Obviously, you're not happy with the way things are playing out with this Republican police reform bill. You got into that back and forth with John Cornyn. So, I mean, to be blunt, are you still a little bit ticked off this morning, or where's your head?
I'm not. I mean, what I am is I am hopeful that my colleagues who are Republicans will agree that America is demanding that by the thousands people are marching and shouting for real solutions to a very evident and clear problem. I am hopeful that they will agree that we need to have substantial policy that meets this moment, including what we, Senator Booker and myself and our colleagues in the House, are offering, which is very concrete solutions, Chris. We're talking about the need for independent investigations of police officers so that it's not the DA's office that works with that police department every day that's doing the investigation. So we can have an appearance of fairness instead of an appearance of conflict. We need to have a national standard for use of force. Because right now, when there's excessive force by a police officer, the question being asked in most places is, was that use of force reasonable? And as you and I know, you can reason away just about anything. The fair and just question instead should be, was that use of force necessary? These are the things we do in our bill that are not in the Republican bill. We ban no-knock warrants in drug cases. Breonna Taylor would be alive today if that had been the case. We ban chokeholds and
Well, can I ask you about her?
Yes, sure.
Can I ask you that, I'm sure you saw that a police officer involved in her death just last night after all this time was fired. Obviously, what more should be done right now?
We need to have accountability and consequence when people break the rules and break the law, and that includes people who wear a badge. We cannot have two systems of justice in America. Listen, Chris, part of the issue here is, and you know my background, I was a career prosecutor, and the term that phrase, consequence and accountability, when we're talking in the criminal justice system, is almost always directed at the person who was arrested, and is almost never directed at the system itself and the actors within the system. That is just not right. We should be saying everyone should be held accountable for consequence and accountability when they break the rules and break the law. Our bill is very narrowly focused, frankly, on just that issue, on making sure that people have justice, making sure that the family of George Floyd has justice, the family of Breonna Taylor, and I could go on and on down the list. So let's stop playing political games with this. And the Republican bill, frankly, is empty. It is empty. It talks about studies. It basically creates a confessional, which is that there will be a reporting after the fact. That is not enough. That is not going to be about real consequence and real accountability. And that's what America is demanding.
So let me ask you about where,
Sure.
From what perch you might fight this fight. Because there's a headline in Politico this morning that says you are the one to beat when it comes to the race to be Joe Biden's running mate. If called, you ready to go?
I don't connect these two issues at all. Let me just say that right now there is a bill, the Justice and Policing bill that Cory Booker and myself, together with our colleagues in the Congressional Black Caucus and our House colleagues and the majority of the United States senators who are Democrats, have been working on diligently around the clock. And that's what's before us right now. We also need to deal and not forget that there are over 40 million people who lost their jobs in just the last 100 days. We need to deal with the fact that over 120,000 Americans have lost their lives. These are the issues that I'm focused on.
I just want to pause for a second because my producer's telling me something in my ear. Can you repeat that, please? And I'll get your reaction to it. What is Joe Manchin saying? We'll vote to break the filibuster on the bill. Plans to vote yes on the procedural motion. Let me get your reaction to that from Joe Manchin.
I'm not going to vote yes. I'm voting no. And I'm following the recommendation of hundreds of civil rights organizations, including the NAACP, the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. I could go on down the list of the families of the victims of these police brutality cases, the George Floyd's family, Breonna Taylor's family, Ben Crump, the lawyer who is representing so many of them. I'm going to follow their recommendation because I agree with them. We should vote this down, this Republican bill, which is empty, which is a shell, which is lip service with no teeth to an issue that the people marching and shouting by the thousands in 50 states of the United States of America are calling for and demanding of their government.
Thank you for checking out our YouTube channel. Why don't you subscribe? It's really easy. Just click on that button down there. And for more news from MSNBC, click on any of these videos here for the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more videos from MSNBC with our newsletters. Head over to msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up.